I need your guys' thoughts on CJI.
It's the first time really anything like that has been done. And I do think it made for some exciting matches.
The CJI event was one of the coolest grappling events I've ever seen in my life.
It's the event that you would want somebody who doesn't know much about jiu-jitsu to be exposed to.
I can say confidently that Levi showed the best pure jiu-jitsu.
And if you know anything about jiu-jitsu, you could see how incredible his guard retention was.
When they announced the first round went to Levi, the whole crowd booed.
They're literally like 29-28, Levi, and everyone's like, what the what are you doing?
It'd be sick if Craig did smaller CJI events.
Once a year, he does the World Championships. Halfway through the year, he does a super fight series. You just get paid show and win money. That would be sick.
All right, Deron, tell us what happened.
It's funny. I don't even know if I want this on here, but our jiu-jitsu coach at the OCRTC, Nick Boley, he's a beast. And he does something right because he consistently has a bunch of clients coming to the gym. But he's like, it's crazy is he's from Baltimore. And I don't know if you guys know anybody from Baltimore, but Baltimore is like almost a rowdy city, but he's complete opposite. He's like kind of like passive and real low key. And so the other night we have like a group chat of the jiu-jitsu community and the MMA community at our gym. And the other night we were on there talking about the CJI, and like I started it, and it was like 10 messages. And then like the night after or 2 nights after, somebody put in like a meme in the jiu-jitsu one. And so yesterday, I think, or the day before, Nick Boley put like the title of the page, like announcements only, kind of like, this isn't for like small talk and shit like that, So, me, that kind of annoyed me a little bit. And so so today I put, hey, I have an announcement. And then I put, hey, my podcast just dropped today with Mason Fowler. So support us. I know a couple people are going to laugh about that one. People who like know me,
Oh, that's funny, bro.
Like, hey, actually, I have an announcement. Pretty cool one, too. Hey,
yeah, we did it. It's been a couple, 2 months in the making now, maybe?
Yeah, give or take. It's been a minute.
We did it, bro.
We did it.
Andrew did it.
And it was mostly all Andrew. So
yeah,
round of applause.
Andrew did it. He's the man. Without Andrew, there's no way me and Mason could have got this off the ground by ourselves.
Not just off the ground. We wouldn't have got it out of the trenches, bro.
We wouldn't have got out of the trenches, bro. We wouldn't even have got through one episode, bro, before I would have been motherfucking Mason, or we would have been fighting over something stupid and like, fuck this. This is why I didn't want to do this shit.
Yeah.
I
preach the peace.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I love podcasting and I love the reach. And I just, without getting too cheesy about all this stuff of like why I love podcasting, but no, dude, like we're making an impact, like somebody listened to the podcast on the way to work and they maybe laughed at us or whatever it was, but like whatever it was that happened, like we, impacted that person's life. And, I'm not going to be, on like Fight to Win. I'm not going to be a U.S. national team member or anything like that. But like, if I can bring that to like, bring you guys to people like that and like give you guys like a pretty cool stage to or platform to speak on, then I'm all for it. So like I just feel extremely lucky to even be a part of all this. So yeah, no, I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked to keep pushing forward and make this even bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for me personally, like I remember when I was stuck in Fresno, and I mean I was training at Thrive MMA, this like small gym, and there was no one that was at like a world-class level that could kind of like mentor me. There's a lot when it comes to combat sports, especially, there's a lot more than just like the techniques that you learn from someone. Like I used to always think that it's like, okay, I need to go train with Kai Otera because he has all these jiu-jitsu techniques that are going to like take me to the next level. But a lot of the time, what's more important than the like techniques themselves is actually the concepts of training and the concepts of competition and just like little things that you pick up when you have a certain level of experience, those things can make a huge difference. So I clearly remember when I was in Fresno, I mean, I would love when there was some UFC fighter that was on the Joe Rogan podcast. I was all ears because I was a young fighter, and I picked up a lot of things from people that I've never met through podcasting.
Yeah.
And so this is something that, like, obviously me and Deron, we have a lot of little bits that might kind of be almost make or break things for a young athlete's training. And because we're building this platform, we're going to be able to share that with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, you make a good point, Mason. Like, concepts, that's like what almost separates good, like, from great. Like,
for sure.
Like great athletes, high level athletes, like people who've done it on a world level. You're generally engaging in a conceptual conversation with them, as opposed to being like, because it's like there's a point where like the highest level guys like know all the same techniques.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's no secret techniques anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's about, well, if I'm this guy, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many more variables that plays into it of just a cut and dry technique about you being able to be the best. You know, it's just like, I mean, we watched it this weekend about like, you know, you're like the mental toughness and how, but it's like, some people are like, you know, some people are mental tough, like naturally. Some people can learn it. You learn it through training. And then it's like, okay, what are you telling yourself in those rounds? What are you telling yourself in between those rounds? And what, you know, when things are getting tough and, you know, it's like, for example, like the finals, it's like, what are you telling yourself between the third and fourth round, kid? You know, and what are you telling yourself between, and in your head, because like, you know, his coaches can tell him whatever they want, but at the end of the day, it's you that has to go out there and do it. So it's like, at the end of the day, you have to walk out there and tell yourself something in your head that helps you get through the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. Even one good concept is just like warming up, for example. Like 90% of jiu-jitsu athletes don't warm up.
Crazy. Oh, I think you said
crazy.
I think you said warming up. Like
no,
a worm.
No.
I was like, what are you talking about?
No, yeah. Warming up. That's just a little thing that
insanity.
It's like me or you
if
can
you don't
speak
warm
on.
If you don't warm up before a grappling match, you're insane.
That's the thing, bro. That's the thing about jiu-jitsu too, is that it's so far behind. Wrestling is so far ahead as far as like strength conditioning, performance.
Yeah.
Whether it's physical or mental. And so that's one thing that is huge, that it's like, as a coach, I mean, we're almost like, if you're listening to our podcasts, you can almost think of us as like one of your coaches, because you're going to be picking up things from us that you should be learning from your coach. But I mean, if your coach is a jiu-jitsu guy, there's a chance you're not learning it, because 90% of these guys aren't even warming up. People, like, you know, they just get to the arena 5 minutes before the match, jump on the match and compete.
It's not sustainable, bro, especially in a combat sport when you're engaged and you're like flexing your muscles.
No, it's ridiculous.
Like, you're flexing every muscle in your body. And if you didn't already do that, and I don't know the exact science behind it, but if you didn't already do that during the day, the first time you do that, it's going to play a much bigger effect on you.
Yeah.
And it will, especially if you have to compete again.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. Like, nothing's worse than when you didn't get a good warm up in and you get a really hard first match, and then the rest of the day, everything changed. It's not who you are anymore. It's about how tough you can get to get through those days, because your neck hurts, your arms are flooded, you know, your back hurts, because that first match was much tougher than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I know, just at a very like basic level, my performance coach Jake Benson kind of explained it to me, but just at a super basic level, I can kind of comprehend it. Is like, essentially, when you start to like strain your muscles, your body sends something to like buffer out the lactic acid.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like some chemical or whatever, I don't know. But when you do your first warm up, your body's sending those things to your muscles. And then that way, once you go hard, all that stuff is already there to kind of help buffer the lactic acid. That's why you'll feel that lactic acid, that burn. You'll feel that right away when you're warming up. And then, you kind of have that stuff to help filter that out.
So Mason, what's your ideal warm up before a big competition?
I'm like low key trying to like scrap with someone, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do some hard hand fighting. And then, man, having the right warm up partner too is a game changer. If you can have someone that can give you like 60% resistance or like 50% resistance, that way they're reacting. They're not just like a dead fish. They're reacting and causing you to go to like the second, third, fourth movement. But at the same time, they're not fighting you, where it's like, obviously you don't want to like have too much resistance, and you also don't want to get hurt right before you compete. Right. So definitely I'll put like, let's say like 2 minutes on the timer and then do a hard like 2 minute hand fight. And then I'll like rest for like, a minute. And then I'll put 2 minutes on the timer, and then I'll do some like guard passing. And then I'll rest for a minute, and then I'll put 2 minutes on the timer and I'll play some guard. I try to kind of go through every position that I might end up in the match. Do a few wrestle ups, do a few submissions from the bottom, do some guard passes, and then, go into the back take.
And it doesn't have to be long either.
No, yeah.
No more than a half hour total with jogging, stretching, drilling. I would say like for me, I mean, when I did it myself, I did, pretty similar to the same thing that I, put my kids through now. But like right now, I would say like it'd be a jog, a stretch, 5 minute jog. At least like, here's the problem is like people don't want to jog for 5 minutes even. But
I know.
I feel like if you can push yourself to that 5 minutes, which sounds silly, but you're like you're not in the mindset to jog, you're in the mindset to compete. So you're like, dude, what? I don't want to jog. I want to just get ready. And then 5 minutes, and then another couple minute stretch, and then we would do like, if I did, depending on the day, I would like go to attacks, or I would go single, double, snap, just a couple like quick actions that we know, and you can really switch off too, 1 and 1. And then, you kind of go through all like the basic positions you need for grappling or wrestling. And then at the end, we would do some sprints to get your heart rate up. And then we do this thing where I go, you all stand in a circle, and I go, go. And you chop your feet for 5 seconds. And I say, go. And then you high knees for 5 seconds. And then go. And then you double knee jump. Knees to chest for 5 seconds. And you do that 3 times, and that like blows your lungs out. That blows your lungs and your legs out. Because like, especially for wrestling, it's not only even about your arms and your lungs, it's almost equally or more important about your legs. Because if your legs give out there, bro, you're screwed, dude.
What about timing wise? Like how soon or how late do you guys, suggest those warm-ups happen before a competition match?
So I would say, and here's what we do, and this is what me and DC used to do, and I do it now with my kids at Fountain Valley. As soon as close as we can get to the tournament start time.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So instead of like going, so you'll see a lot, like we'll be the last kids on the mat a lot before the tournament starts, because everybody will go. So say weigh-ins are at 7 a.m. And then the tournament starts at 9. Kids will start getting out there at 8 a.m. and start warming up, and they're done by 8:30. And then my whole thing about that is like, then you have a longer time to sit down and get cold before you go out there again.
For sure, yeah. That's a horrible idea.
So I'll go out there at like 8:40, or like they start jogging at 8:35, and then and then I put them through a hard warm up, 10-15 minutes, real hard, intense, and then a little hand fighting in there. I didn't add that in, because like I'm indifferent about going live. Like maybe sometimes I'm okay with going live, like really short spurts, 30 seconds, a minute. But it's got to be the right guys,
It's hard when you have a lot of matches, right? It's hard when you have a lot of matches.
Yeah.
Maybe if they just had one match, like on a Who's Number One or something, you would have them almost like do a match before, right?
Yes.
But when you have like some of these kids have what, like 5-6 matches?
Yes. So that's one of the concepts, Mason, is getting that. Let's get that first match out of the way.
For sure.
That's the warm up. That's the kind of the idea of like, hey, keep pushing. Let's get that first match out of the way. Because if anybody has any experience, they know that first match is it's unbelievable if you're not ready. It's unbelievable if you're not ready.
Since like, you know, not everybody competes, but they want to up their training game. How do you guys handle warm-ups before just like a regular, you know, Monday morning or maybe Monday afternoon training session as far as the warm-ups? Because I know for me personally,
Andrew trying to sneak his own. He's like, I'm trying.
Yeah, I got to get some answers
I'm trying to know how to warm up.
Mainly because, when I, especially in the mornings, right, people just want to start getting after it because it's like, well, you know, there's not that much time. So like nobody warms up. The only time people warm up is if the instructor walks in and he's like, all right, everybody, you know, get a partner. We're going to flow for the first couple rounds. Then I'm like, thank goodness. So no one's going to get hurt today. But outside of that, is there anything specific that you guys teach or do yourself to warm up just for like a training session?
Mason, you got something?
All right. Yeah. So like, I mean, there's a lot of variables, right? But like, I mean, one really important thing is to just like know, I mean, what were you doing before the live training started, right? Like when I go to, let's say I go to a Gilroy wrestling practice and we're doing like hard drilling for 45 minutes. I'm as warm as can be. I can go live right away. On the first go, I can go 100%. But then if you're in a jiu-jitsu class and it's like some long drawn out technique and you're drilling really slowly, because in jiu-jitsu you drill a lot slower because sometimes there's like a lot more steps and certain concepts that you have to get. Wrestling's more of just like go, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a jiu-jitsu class, you could drill for 45 minutes and not even be sweating. So I would say it's going to depend on how warm you feel when it's time for the live training to start. If you were being really lazy during the drilling, you're probably not very warm. And in that case, I would say at least go easy the first round. And there's a few ways that you can do that. For me personally, I can just choose a smaller blue belt and do the first round with them. And then I don't have to tell them to flow roll because I can flow roll while they're going 100%, right?
Yeah.
But depending on who you are, you know, it's going to be wise to probably choose someone that you trust and then like communicate with them like, hey, let's go a little bit lighter this round, bro. Let's like not try to like, you don't have to pick the hardest guy right away, especially if you're not feeling warm. And when I say warm, I don't mean, you know, you're just feeling loose. I'm talking about, I mean, you should be sweating. You should be warmed up and ready to go.
Yeah, dripping
You
sweat.
should be fully focused, fully locked in. A lot of it's mental too, man. If you're not warmed up, your reaction time is going to be slower. And like 90% of injuries in the gym are going to occur when you're not warm. And then you're going to jerk the wrong way, or you're going to react slowly. Something's going to pop or something's going to crack. So I would say at least one flow roll. If I'm completely cold and there's a killer in the gym, like Yuri, for example, I'm going to probably do 2 warm-up rounds. I'm going to probably go with the blue belt first, you know, start warming up with him. And then I'm probably going to grab someone that's like a bigger purple belt and go a little harder. That's going to be like 80%. And then after that, I'm like, all right, now me and Yuri can go and fucking kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I'll add in that, like, so for wrestling, I'll do a little bit of both because I have an idea for some jiu-jitsu guys too, is in wrestling. So if we're doing like a slow technique day where like I'm breaking down some positions, but then I know I want us to wrestle live, like we'll drill for 45 minutes or whatever. And then I will make them get up and I'll be like, all right, touch 8 walls. And then get some water and get ready to wrestle. So they'll get up and they'll run back and forth like 8 times, get their heart rate up, and then get some water. And then now we're ready to wrestle. You know, as opposed to like, all right, get some water, get ready to wrestle. It just helps them kind of get your body going. But if I'm like a jiu-jitsu guy who is, you know, a male in his 30s and 40s, you know, no matter what, before every practice, you need to roll out. You need a foam roller or like a roller, like a harder roller. Foam rollers suck. you need like a plastic roller, and you need to be rolling out. Like you need to roll out your back. You need to roll out your IT bands. And if you get to the point where you're kind of more in depth about it, but there's a lot of stuff out there that you can look up, but you should roll out first because that myofascial release helps warm your body up at the next level.
I can't roll unless I do that fascia release. Like there's no way I'm gonna people will like point at me, you ready? Like, dude, no, like I still have like a whole other side I need to do or whatever it is. Like I will not roll unless I roll my body out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's super important, dude. And then and it's like then you can do certain other things. Like it's up to you how warm you get. It's like when I would go into AKA. And when I was in camp, I would take my time getting warm. I'd roll out. I'd have my lacrosse ball. I'd hit my points the points of release that I needed. Then I would do my my like calisthenic warm up, and then Then I would shadow box, and it's like it's a process, bro. Mm-hmm. I mean, dudes who've been competing their whole life understand what I'm saying. It's like my body just like don't move the same anymore, and it's really just because of the longevity of my career. So like I really have to make sure that I get warm. Mm-hmm. If I plan on going 100%, like lately, if I spar, I'm never really going 100%. So I'll use, like Mason said, that first round to warm up. Maybe that second round to warm up. And like, especially in MMA, you got to tell a dude like, hey man, let's flow, because egos are involved. Dude hits you too hard, then you want to hit him harder. The next thing you know, you're cashed after the first round. You'll ruin your training for the day. Mm-hmm. Like just burnt out, bro.
Yeah. Cool. So now that we got tips out the way, I need your guys' thoughts on CJI that just happened this weekend. Tell me your guys' thoughts.
Mason?
Yeah, I was at both events. I went to CJI on Saturday, so that was day 2 of CJI. I wasn't there on Friday. And then I went to ADCC on Sunday, so that was day 2 of ADCC. So I was there live for both of the day 2s of the events, and I mean we saw on both sides people posted like the arena looking empty, right? I think Gordon posted CGI looking empty, and then Craig posted ADCC looking empty. And the truth is, I wasn't there in person for the day 1s of either event, but I think that was the case. I think that most people probably went to just the day 2s because, I mean, CGI was definitely packed on day 2, and ADCC had a lot of people there. I was there obviously live for Gordon versus Yuri. I was in Yuri's corner. And T-Mobile definitely wasn't as packed, but it's a way bigger arena too. So that doesn't mean that there was like, I don't know if there was more people at CGI or ADCC. You can't really tell because T-Mobile's a bigger arena. So I will say I do think that I like that rule set that CGI has a little bit better, just because like the long time periods, it makes grapplers pace, right? And the longest match I've competed in is like 15 minutes, I think. And when you're in those matches, when you have to go for 15 minutes straight, I mean, you are going to be a lot more patient and you are going to conserve because you don't want to like burn out in the first 5 minutes and then you're just out there helpless, right? So that is the one thing that I will say. Me personally, I like the 3 5-minute rounds, and it's the first time really anything like that has been done. And I do think it made for some exciting matches. And when you give the competitors a little 1 minute break in between, I think they're not going to be so worried about conserving energy. So I liked that aspect of the rules a little bit better for CGI. But all in all, I've always liked the ADCC rule set. When it's 5 minutes submission only, 5 minutes points, and then 5 minutes overtime, it does make for exciting matches. And then the fact that there's a penalty for pulling guard in ADCC makes for, more stand-up scrambles. So nothing, I don't think ADCC needs to change the rules. But I just will say that when you have like a 30-minute match, it can be a little long, and people's attention spans are so short. And then also, the athletes are just going to pace. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, especially when there's a lot of like jiu-jitsu. If you're like, I know a guy who was a wrestler, loved wrestling, still in the sport of wrestling. He ended up playing, he played college football, but sometimes when we get to talking about jiu-jitsu, he's like, I'm not sold. And he loves wrestling because he doesn't understand what's going on, which that's not really the conversation, but more so it's a lot of just like very slow pace engagement.
Yeah.
So, and you got to think in those long matches, the reason they're going so long is because these dudes are both so good that they're not able to advance to anything exciting.
Yeah.
But I will say I've been watching jiu-jitsu for the last 6-7 years. I'm not as into it as I probably should be. And I've definitely been more into it as of recent, being able to like me and Mason would talk about jiu-jitsu, but like not how we do in depth here. But I will say this. I went to the 2 ADCCs ago, and it was really, really cool. But the CJI event, and I'm going to be glazing right now, was one of the coolest grappling events I've ever seen in my life. And I'm talking about all together, wrestling and everything. It was sick. I think that the factor of the pit makes it almost more like intimate. And, with everything on the line, and then like the scorecards, the live scoring, made everything more exciting, which, it's a different conversation. I think MMA should go that route too. But I think the CJI was incredible. And yeah, and I guess it's cool that I know some of these dudes. I know a lot of them. And you get to cheer for some guys. I had a bet with one of our dads with Nolf and Ty. And it's interesting throwing those the good thing about that is like you can throw high level wrestlers in there, and they can still, if they know just how to at least defend submissions, they'll be competitive in it because their base level of grappling understanding, it's about like your body understanding like how to move, and the concept of like, if I go this way, my body goes this way. If he goes this way, his body goes this way, and so on and so forth, And that'll allow you to, it's like when I first started in jiu-jitsu, I was
You're
decent.
ahead of the curve. Yeah, you're ahead
way
of the curve.
ahead of the curve because I knew that if I turn my hips right, you're going to go left, Yeah. But CJI was sick. I didn't really watch much of ADCCs. I did. What's funny is I know that Michael Pixley, and he's from Missouri, actually. He's from Blue Springs, Missouri. He was a phenom out of high school. He's kind of a kid like me. Sorry, excuse me. Kind of a kid like me where he didn't do his schoolwork. He went JUCO, I think. Then he went to the school called Grandview NAI School in Iowa. And I think he won a national title. But he was a guy who never got to showcase his actual pedigree of skills at the highest level. And I'm glad that he can now. So just so you know, he's always been a phenom. And I guess, and really, his style of wrestling was like that. Like, he was a pinner. He was, chin whipping dudes. He was Uchimata and dudes. You know what I mean? Like, so for guys who knew who he was, did he end up winning?
I think he got third.
Okay,
or fourth,
I just saw that he beat
fourth.
Marigali.
Yeah, he beat Marigali, and then he got top 4.
Yeah,
I can check, but
anyways, it almost seemed like, and maybe it's just because I'm like more involved with the people that were in the ADCCs, or I mean with the CJI, that like it was like ADCCs was almost anticlimactic. I mean, Andrew, what do you think? I mean, you were there.
Yeah, well, so in regards to that though, so I have friends that went to both. I just went to CJI, but a buddy of mine, my buddy Josh Setledge, he was like, like I've never done drugs like that, but I know like if you do cocaine and then now all of a sudden you do like a Diet Coke or something, all of a sudden that Diet Coke's not really going to get you fired up.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, for
like
sure.
that when I went to CJI, he was like, it was so amped up, everything was so exciting, and then you go to ADCC, and it was like, man, I should be really enjoying this jiu-jitsu, and I'm just like, I can't get fired up for it. And so that's kind of a bummer. But in regards to like how many people were there, I'm pretty bad at gauging that sort of thing. But I know day one, when I first got there, I had texted you guys. I'm like, man, I don't know. It's looking like maybe a little bit above halfway full. But then by the end of day one, I looked up and I would say like the arena was like quarters full.
Is that CGI or ADCC?
CJI, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
ADCC. But dude, I think the pit or the alley is what they called it is genius, because I heard this morning at Jiu Jitsu that a lot of people were upset at like the resets that you would get in ADCC versus just in the alley where you're kind of let them do whatever the hell they're going to do. It was incredible. I did have a really good spot. I ended up being in the VIP section of the whole thing, so I was literally like right there. Like I could walk up and touch the alley. It was sick, dude. And I haven't experienced.
Yeah, you had great seats.
Thank you. Yeah, no, shout out to my boy Smokey and Merrick. I've never really experienced like a big jiu-jitsu event. Like the biggest I've experienced outside of like a local comp would be like Fight to Win, that sort of thing. Like nothing crazy. So to go from that to all of a sudden it's like, bam, like the biggest stage is like, oh my gosh, like no wonder why this is getting so popular, right? I loved it. I wasn't sure how I was going to like the 3-round system and then 5-round system with the points and all that. But it ended up being so exciting. I mean, there were so many things to like about it. The pacing of it all, like it was just like one thing after another. The only thing I didn't like was I left early because I was so freaking tired, dude. It was like 9 hours straight of jiu-jitsu. I was like, yo, I'm done. Like, let's walk in and out, and I'm going to sleep because I'm freaking tired. I was telling you guys, I'm like, dude, I'm up past midnight. I don't know what to do with my life right now. This is too late for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy because
if they could figure something out with that, I don't know what the answer is, because it seems like they know. Well, they did a good job with this, right? It's like the most talked about thing and the most watched thing, it seems like. But yeah, if we can break up that first day, because dude, I was struggling, but it was
the first maybe day start in the morning, late, right?
What's that?
The first day was like till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. There's no way.
Yeah, they started late too, though. They started at like I think 2 p.m.
Yeah, 3, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could have done part of it in the morning, do like a 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. session. Where they do kind of like the first rounds for everyone, and then they have a break from like 2 to 3 or like 2 to 4, and then they go from like 4 to like 10 p.m. 10 p.m. is probably the latest they should have went, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if they just if they kind of like mismanaged how long it was going to take. I'd be curious to hear like the production and like Craig, like if they were in a panic, like shit, bro, we got to get these dudes out of here, Because like no matter what. What's crazy is a lot of times people will train at the time of day that they're going to compete at. So like fighters will train at the time of day that they're going to compete at. So it's like nobody's training at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. I mean, you're asleep. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but with that stuff, you got to be ready for anything. But yeah, I feel like the only downfall, like I definitely went to sleep before the first day was over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, overall though, it was ran really well, and then I guess the live stream was pretty smooth all the way through. I think there was only one instance where like the microphone wasn't working and nobody really knew what the heck was going on. It was during a skit with Craig Jones, and so we didn't know exactly what like the punchline was. But outside of that, everything was pretty smooth. Like there wasn't really any long delays between any rounds or anything. Yeah, dude, it was legit. Like it's the event that you would want somebody who doesn't know much about jiu-jitsu to be exposed to, right? You wouldn't want to take somebody that's never seen it and be like, oh, dude, let's go check this out. And somebody's just kind of, I don't know, pulling guard or rolling on the floor for like 15 minutes, and they're like, oh, this is jiu-jitsu. It's like, well, yeah, but it's exciting. I promise. This would be the event to expose everybody to be like, nah, dude, you got to check this out. And dude, there were some incredible matches, and I just I can't believe I was there to watch it. It was so sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mace.
No, it was sick. Yeah. And I was just going to say, like, a lot of, you're seeing people out there. There's a lot of people saying like ADCC is dead or this or that. Like ADCC is still there and it's going to be there. And they have a huge infrastructure now. They have all these ADCC opens all over the place. And, they might make a couple tweaks as well. They might tweak a few things. And at the end of the day, ADCC is always going to be there.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
CJI just came in and they just put on a really spectator friendly show.
I feel like there's a little desperation in there. Like them paying John Jones $50,000 just to come watch. Did you hear that? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw Craig's post. I don't know if Craig's just trolling or what, but yeah, I saw he posted that.
I believe it was in the form of a donation to a certain charity or something, like kind of like, hey, you show up, we're going to donate $50K over here. So then it was like, you're kind of a dick if you don't show up to get this charity paid for. I could be way wrong there, but that's
John
what
Jones
I read.
Fucking partying donation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I believe, I mean, I don't want to be naive, but like I said, bro, I've been in this shit so long and I've been around so many people that like, if it is true, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So I might be on like out on the island on this one, but we're skipping far ahead. We can go back and forth if you guys want on as far as matches, but the Levi Cade Rutolo final. Everybody in the crowd was booing when Levi would sit down. His guard was incredible. It was one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen in jiu-jitsu, and everybody was hating on him for it. I get it. I'm not saying that like I would rather have that than the Andrew Tackett match before that, because that was literally like the most incredible jiu-jitsu match like in history. But I was so impressed with that guard, and to have somebody like Cade struggling like that hard for 5 rounds to just like not get through was just so damn impressive. Again, I wanted Cade to win. Like he was the guy that I had winning the whole thing anyways. I mean, that's like, I'm calling my shot, the number 1 guy in the whole bracket, right? But
yeah,
I was fired up to see him. I was most excited to see him anyways out of everybody there. But again, that guard was insane. What are your guys' thoughts on like that last final, match for $1 million? Do you think there needs to be like a rule change or something to prevent something like that from happening? Or was it just perfect the way it was, and it literally just took somebody being really good at jiu-jitsu to beat somebody else's guard?
So I have 2 things. If in one sense, if you think about it, in experience of like MMA, think about guys like DC, Habib, these wrestling-based champions that were getting booed during title fights. So you can boo Levi Jones Leary, but at the end of the day, he's like, you can boo me all the way to this $1 million, bro. It's like DC and Habib and them, and be like, you can boo me all you want, but I'm getting 2 checks. I'm getting my show and my win check. I'm winning at this grappling, no matter what, if it's fan friendly or not. Like, at the end of the day, you want to be able to like, gain traction with more fans. But when it comes to the highest level of competing, you just need to win, because it's so hard to win at the highest level. So as even though I'm biased with Cade and I wanted him to win, and that kind of goes along with what I'm going to say next, I respect Levi Jones-Leary and his skill set. And if you know anything about jiu-jitsu, you could see how incredible his guard retention was. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like,
I love that take from you, Deron.
You like that take?
I love that take from you.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro.
I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. And so in another thing is, it's like when you've competed against high level dudes, it's like, you know, sometimes you look at a guy like Levi Jones-Leary and I'm like, this dude, like, he kind of doesn't, he looks, you know, unassuming. And but I will say this, when you watch that and watch how Cade couldn't pass and watch how he was so quick to, you know, transition to like the leg entanglements, like that one too. And, there's something different about him. He's special. His grip strength is really good. You know what I mean? There's something that he's very exceptional at in there. And I can't really say exactly what it is. I'm sure other people can. But that, you know, as a guy who's a high level athlete and has watched it for a long time, I have the utmost respect for him because dude is obviously doing something really exceptional in there. And it's hard for me to hate on that. Yeah. So on the other hand, real quick, so I got one more thing. Cade Rotolo is a world fan favorite. So it doesn't help that he's the favorite in there and everyone wants him to win, and everyone wants him to win in a exciting fashion. So him getting neutralized to a more, I guess, boring style of jiu-jitsu is not fan friendly. So that doesn't help the situation at all. But if you ask, I bet if you ask the majority of the, you know, if you put a poll against everybody in the jiu-jitsu world, they would give you feedback about how, kind of like what I was saying, how exceptional Levi Jones-Leary was and how impressive it was. Even though it might have been boring, he was doing a few things at the absolute highest level.
Yeah. And I got a couple things. One is I think I can say confidently that Levi showed the best pure jiu-jitsu out of anyone in the tournament. Pure Brazilian jiu-jitsu. One thing that I wish I would have seen, there was one or two times that he came up in like an attempt to sweep. And then he either didn't have the motivation to finish the sweep, or he didn't have the technical prowess to turn it into a wrestling exchange. There was a few times he had Cade in a really bad position, and he could have potentially swept, got on top, and then started to work on passing. And you could tell in those timings, he didn't want to come up and try and wrestle and finish the sweep. He was very content to just go back to guard. So that's the only thing I wish I would have seen differently out of Levi. I wish I would have seen him a little more confident in trying to scramble and get on top, right? With that being said, his guard, amazing. Best guard in the tournament. Best pure jiu-jitsu in the tournament. And then the other guy that showed really, really sharp, really amazing pure jiu-jitsu, I would say, is Fowler Andrew. But like we saw, I mean, pure jiu-jitsu doesn't always win you matches, especially not in no-gi. There's a lot more factors. Wrestling, explosiveness, athleticism is just as important in no-gi as pure jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't like this idea of the crowd. I didn't like the crowd booing when Levi was pulling guard. Mm-hmm. We're doing jiu-jitsu. It's jiu-jitsu, guys. Levi's allowed to play guard. This is one of the biggest problems with jiu-jitsu. One of the biggest problems with jiu-jitsu when it comes to making it exciting is when you have a really good guard player with an impossible guard to pass, and then you have a really good passer that is not letting you get in on any attacking positions. And that's just what we saw with Cade and Levi. They're both so good. Cade is so good at not letting you get deep in any attacking positions. And Cade was trying to pass. It's not like he was just staying on the outside and stalling. Cade was constantly trying to pass. Levi was constantly trying to attack. neither one of those guys were trying to stall or anything like that. They were both attacking. They were just neutralizing each other. And it makes for more of a boring match. It's just stylistically it made for more of a boring match. And we see that happen sometimes in jiu-jitsu, and it's always usually the same thing. It's when one guy has an amazing guard and the other guy can't pass, but the other guy on top is also defensively sound, and he's not allowing the guard player to get in on any attacks. The only other time that we see a really boring match in jiu-jitsu is when you have two guys that are hand fighting that are afraid to shoot because they don't want to get guillotined by each other.
Mm-hmm.
So those are usually the two situations that cause for boring jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing as high-level wrestling. If you watch the World Championships, you watch the U.S. Open, you watch World Team Trials, the European Championships, there's always low-scoring matches because both guys are so good that it's hard to score on them. So a lot of times, and then it's another thing. It's like if you're a casual, you can't understand how hard these dudes are working with the hand fight and stuff to be able to get to an attack. So it's like if you have a casual eye, watch wrestling for the first time at the highest level, sometimes they're gonna be like, "Bro, what is this shit?"
Yeah.
Because they're just standing there.
Nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening.
But they're trying.
They're trying so hard.
But also, if one guy is trying too hard, he's gonna open himself up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens in boxing too. I mean, like Floyd Mayweather, right? You couldn't hit him, and then people complained that it was boring.
Yeah,
he was so good defensively. But that's what it takes at the highest level, especially when there's $1 million on the line.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's less likely to take a risk. So let me ask you guys this. So when it comes to the Cade and I call him LJL match, do you think that, first of all, obviously biasly, I love that it went 5 rounds because it allowed Cade to grind to a dub.
Yeah.
Do you think that's good or bad for like the traditional style jiu-jitsu by Levi Jones-Leary? Is it harder? I'm trying to word this in the right way. Do you think it is benefited. More of a fact? Yeah. Who does it benefit more? Is it more of a benefit fact? Like, well, jiu-jitsu is not supposed to be that long. He played in guard retention for a long time. You know what I mean? Like he was, traditionally doing jiu-jitsu really well. Or is it, well, that's good because in my point of view, I would say it allowed the better grappler to showcase that he's the better grappler because he had longer time to do so. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah. But man, in that case, I wouldn't even say I've never met Levi, and I know Cade. Obviously, I met him, I trained with him a few times, so I would be a little biased towards Cade too. But I wouldn't say necessarily that Cade was even the better grappler. I would say it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
Like I would really say the match was 50-50.
Yeah, for sure.
And it could have went either way.
100%.
The rounds were so close. And, of course, all of Levi's people are saying, Levi got robbed. In my honest opinion, if Levi would have won, I wouldn't have thought Cade got robbed. And Cade winning, I didn't think Levi got robbed because it was so 50-50 that you can't call either one a robbery. It just depends on, are the judges scoring Cade's aggression and trying to pass, or are they scoring Levi's attempts at, leg entanglements? What's scoring more right now? And a lot of people were saying too that the judges broke to like the crowd's pressure because in the arena, when they announced the first round went to Levi, the whole crowd booed.
Oh yeah.
The whole crowd booed. Now, did they boo because they thought Cade won the round, or did they boo because everyone loves Cade and wanted Cade to win?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Second round, they gave to Levi. The crowd, all boos, bro. All boos. And then the third, fourth, and fifth went to Cade.
And I was surprised that they did that because I'm like, dude, I'm watching the same fight. It's still going, right? Like the first and second round, the third and fourth looked very, very similar. So
that's the thing. All the rounds look the same.
Yeah, and so they, and then check this out, dude. So obviously, no disrespect, but I'm sitting right next to Cade's mom. Like, so their whole family is right here. They are going nuts.
They're going crazy. Yeah.
After the first 2 rounds, dude. Oh my, dude. I thought like they were going to start like throwing shit into the into the pit. They were so freaking amped up. And I mean, obviously, I mean, I can't even imagine what that would feel like, right? That must have been, I mean, again, like that's just a whole nother level. But yeah, I think it could have went either way, but I do think Cade did enough at the very end of the 5th round by just staying more active. I don't like making an excuse for that, you know, because it's like, okay, he tried passing and he didn't get past, but he was trying harder. He looked like he was working harder than Levi, but don't get me wrong, Levi was working his ass off. 5 rounds to keep Cade off of you and not past guard. I didn't even think that would be possible. But I think right like towards the very, very end, I think Levi just wasn't as like sticky, right? Like he wasn't able to regard as smoothly as he was early in the fight or early in the match. And I think maybe that's what kind of like got Cade all like that last push. But yeah, dude, that crowd, I think, because Deron, they're literally like, Deron Winn has it 29-28. You know, Levi, and everyone's like, what the fuck, Deron? Like, what are you doing?
No, and everyone knows these people too. Like these people that we're judging are like well-known figures in the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah. And so and they're like yelling at you. They're like yelling at them. Like it's not like a commission.
I mean, if I'm a black belt, a well-known black belt in the jiu-jitsu community, and my name's up there, and everyone in the crowd, 15,000 people are booing my decision, and then I'm thinking like, damn, like,
am I wrong?
This guy over here sponsors me. I'm doing a seminar at this guy's gym over here in the next few weeks.
For sure.
Like, I better go with the flow here.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just saying, to me personally, I think Cade clearly won one of the rounds. I think it was like the 3rd round. I think Levi clearly won one of the rounds, like the 1st or 2nd round, one of those early rounds. And then the other 3, I think were like, honestly, dead even. So it could have went either way, honestly.
Dude, I thought
it's just funny that the crowd was booing, and then all of a sudden, you know, the judges were like, "Oh fuck, God." You know?
Dude, I thought they were legit going to go another round because that shit was pretty close. Oh no, that was
they almost should have. In that case, they almost should have because it was so close.
You know, at first I didn't know it was 5 rounds, but then like after the 3rd, I watched like Cade walk over and sit down, and I was like, "Oh, they're gonna go again."
Yeah, you know, good thing too, because if not, Levi won the first 2 rounds, so 100% would have lost.
Yes, yeah. If it would have stopped after 3, Levi would have won.
Yeah,
dude. That the Cade and Andrew Tackett match was just like I said, dude. I think that was like the best match in history, dude. I was blown away at just how hard those 2 guys were going at each other nonstop. That one could have, I mean, I think obviously Cade did enough to win, but like that's at one point, dude, Tackett was on top, and that was wild.
Oh yeah. And that was a much more back and forth match as far as like a lot more like submission attacks happened, lot more scoring positions happened. But yeah, that one I think was a little more, I have to rewatch it. But I do remember thinking it should have been 2 rounds to 1 for Cade based on what happened. Mm-hmm. And again, I love Andrew Tackett, and I've had the honor of training with both of those kids.
Yeah, I remember they were your dark horses.
Yeah, I picked Andrew Tackett.
Yeah, they were your dark horses.
Yeah, so I mean, he was right there with Cade, you know, and then
I'll have to watch that match. But you know what's crazy is whenever they posted it and. I went all the comments. I mean, literally, so many comments. Best jiu-jitsu match of all time. That was incredible. Best jiu-jitsu match ever. That might have been the best jiu-jitsu match ever. So it had to be fireworks, bro. I need to go watch it.
And now, so what I want to see next, there's 2 matches that are on the top of my head that I want to see. One is Andrew Tackett versus Levi.
Yeah.
Because Andrew Tackett's passing is so good. I want to see if he could deal with Levi's guard. And on the flip side, I want to see if Levi's able to get some attacks off on Andrew. Yeah. So I think that's the next match to make for sure. And then we have to see Adele Fornero. I hope I'm saying your last name right, Adele. I know Adele too. I've trained with Adele too when I was in Australia. I would love to see her versus Fionn. Because Fionn, before ADCC, Fionn was regarded as like the best pound for pound female. She was the favorite to win the division. And then she switched over to CJI and did super fight. While she did the super fight, Adele won the division at ADCC. And then ADCC this year had the first ever absolute division for women, right? There's 3 women's divisions, under 55 kg, under 65 kg, and then over 65 kg, right? Adele won the lightest division. She won the lightest division. And then she entered into the absolute, and she won the absolute, bro.
Sick.
Yeah.
And she was in the lightest division, and that never happened.
Who did she beat in the finals?
Bia Mesquita, the best female grappler of all time.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All I know is that, what's her name? Fione?
Fione.
She headlocked the shit out of Mackenzie Dern, boy. I swear to God, she did. I didn't watch that match
she's a beast,
either,
bro.
but somebody sent that to me, and she headlocked the shit out of Mackenzie Dern, bro.
She's a beast. But yeah, Adele's stock has quadrupled over this weekend. Her stock has grown the highest percentage-wise out of anyone, maybe even from both events, because she was, I mean, we knew who she was, but now she's like pound for pound number 1 female on the planet, bro. Came out of nowhere. She was winning before this, but this is her first like big thing, and she double golded.
Yeah, that's her coming out party.
We got to see her and Fion, and then yeah, I would love to see Andrew Tackett versus Levi.
Yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be sick if Craig did some smaller CJI events,
like a super fight. Yeah.
Ooh.
And then they did one like he could do another event like in 6 months.
Yeah.
That's the Craig Jones Invitational. But it doesn't even have to
be that. He should just do it every yearly, and then like 2 or 3 times a year, be like, hey, we got these 3 super fights.
But what I'm saying is he could just do a super fight show.
Yeah.
In the pit.
Yeah.
With like
no
8 matches.
No bracket. Yeah.
No bracket. Yeah. And then once a year he does the World Championships. Craig Jones Invitational World Championships.
Yeah.
And then halfway through the year he does a super fight series where it's like you just get paid show and win money, right? That would be sick. But sick. I mean, they could do that on Who's Number One. They could do that on UFC Fight Pass. There's other events where they could do those matches as well. So I'm sure we're going to see now some big money thrown at some of these competitors because now everything's doubled, tripled. So now we're going to start seeing it's not going to be out of the realm of possibility that like we're going to start seeing more. Hey, Fion, you're getting $50K to show. Adele's getting $50K to show. Like the money's up now. Viewership's up and interest is up. So now like Kainan, who just won double gold, he's going to make he should be making 50 grand to take on Nicky Rod, who just won the $1 million tournament. You know, these matchups now that there's so much interest, especially since there was 2 separate tournaments, and now the super fights can kind of mix and match people that did well in both tournaments. So now it's like the interest is there. People should be getting paid a lot more. It kind of rose everyone's stock up.
For sure.
Is there
everyone should be getting paid more now?
Yeah, outside of just like beefing with each other, is there any like contracts or anything involved with like Flow or any organization that would prevent somebody going from that to like, oh yeah, I'm going to go compete at like the CGI, like whatever not the yearly invitational, but like the fight night or whatever it is.
I can't imagine.
There's some, but it's very rare. It's very rare. Like ONE FC has exclusive contracts, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe.
But Kate and Ty.
But they gave them permission, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And then same with like Mikey Musumeci. I think that
because you think like even in the UFC, you would think if there's a company that wouldn't allow you to do something like that, it's the UFC. But like dudes could be. I mean, I competed in a wrestling match outside of the UFC, or when I was in the UFC. You know, I watched some of these dudes do grappling events, you know, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think it's sticky, and you have to get like you need to ask, you know, but
it just depends, and it's only a few guys that are actually under contract. It's only a few guys, but I think that's going to start getting more and more common for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's going to start being more and more common.
Dude, before I forget, I got to meet Mighty Mouse. He was cool as fuck.
Oh,
I,
yeah,
just, I, just,
sick.
I just gave him props, and I told him thank you for making the gi cool again, because it just seems like no gi is like the coolest thing ever. And like when I put on my bathrobe to go roll with other dudes, people don't care anymore. So I thanked him, and he's like, "I'm trying, bro." Just gave him a
Yeah.
fist bump, super nice. I wanted to take a picture, but I didn't
Did
want
you
to be
walk
all
away
like,
and like maybe you had a like a
Little chub,
little
half a chub.
little chub,
I
Andrew? You're
was
like,
walking on air. I was like, dude, I just met my, because there's all kinds of people, you know, in the audience. You know, Nate Diaz was there, Jocko was there.
Hey, that's how you felt when you met me for the first time, huh?
Yeah, dude, it was like, there's Mason here, like Mason's in the building.
I'm kidding.
It's not the same feeling I had when I first met him, Andrew. I'll tell you that much, boy.
Yeah, me and Deron actually almost fought.
I almost whooped his ass.
I saw some of the footage. I was stoked that I was able to find that of you guys just like training a little bit here and there. That was cool.
Yeah. I mean, that was way after we had met. I mean,
we actually almost fought
in 2016.
There was one instance that was a little tense. That almost.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
you guys were.
I want to show you guys. You know, I'm gonna finish with this.
No, I'm gonna finish with this.
All right. I'm gonna finish with it.
You go first, and then I'm gonna finish.
I want to show you guys the shirt that I have on today.
There it is.
Hey, my buddy from the gym, Tyson. He's got Tyson tees. He's gonna make some exclusive t-shirts, merch, and then I think that at some point in the near future, we're gonna have a merch store for us to be able to buy some t-shirts, and we're gonna do like different levels. You know, we're gonna have some basic tees, and then you know we're gonna have some embroidered tees. If you guys want to buy like the exclusive VIP t-shirts, we'll have those in somewhere in the future for you guys.
Cool. Yeah. So keep your eyes up for that, guys. Make sure you guys follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you guys listen to your podcast. Make sure that you guys follow us, subscribe, put the notifications on. You know, we're going to be dropping episodes every week. So make sure that you guys are following so that you don't miss an episode. And real quick, I'm just going to end with this story because we were talking about the time that me and Deron first met. I was actually out. I was sitting out of practice. He came to the gym in the time span. Anyone that kind of like knows my story of my athletic career, when I was fighting professionally, I had just like randomly after a training session, I had just like went home and started like basically seeing stars and like etc., having all kinds of concussion symptoms, and it ended up leading to me being out for 6 months with post-concussion syndrome. It was almost like a freak thing that happened randomly after a day of sparring, right? So during that time period, Zinkin Entertainment was recruiting athletes to our gym, Dethrone Fresno, recruiting guys out of high school to join the fight team, and essentially, out of college, or just out of the wrestling circuit, right? Out of high school, high level college and world level wrestlers such as Deron, such as Ed Ruth. We had, a few high level wrestlers there. So anyways, Deron had just recently gotten recruited to the gym, and all that he had seen is me sitting out on the sidelines, right? Because I was out with an injury. Just being soft. So he didn't really know what I was about, right? And I was a part-time jiu-jitsu coach at that time. I was a purple belt, so I was teaching some of the classes, but I wasn't able to train with anyone. And Deron probably thought I was kind of a pussy, rightfully so. And we had a little beef in the first maybe month or so that we were there. We were yapping at each other a little bit. Deron, if you have ever spent an extended amount of time with him, you know that he's a little mouthy at times, and he's a little hard-headed. And one thing that Deron does whenever he comes into a new environment is he likes to really kind of show that he's the alpha in the environment.
Just establish yourself, boy.
He has to just kind of establish himself as the alpha, right? And what you got to understand is in this environment, I wasn't the alpha, but I was one of the alphas because I was like the up and coming pro fighter. I was like the good like competition purple belt. So he was coming in and kind of trying to take my spot as one of the alphas, we could say. So he was doing a lot of talking, right? And
I hate how this story's about to end, but go ahead.
We just used to yip yap back and forth at each other, and it was mostly playful, but it got a little serious at times. You know, it got a little tense at times, but it was mostly playful. But one of the main things, I used to have this slogan that was like "Omoplata everyone," right? Because I had a really good rubber guard in omoplata. I even had it on my business cards, like "Omoplata the world" or some shit like that. And so Deron would always be like, you're never going to fucking omoplata me, blah, blah, blah. We were yapping back and forth all the time. And I was like, I'm going to fucking tap you the first round we train. And he's like, you're never going to fucking omoplata me. Fast forward a few months, I finally got healthy. And, my first hard training session back, my first row with Deron, I tapped him in about 15 seconds.
No, that's a lie, bro. He's fucking lying. I knew
that's
he
the
was
story.
That's
the story of how me and Deron just first met. Anyways, guys, it's been episode 7 or 8. I'm not sure, but we're gonna keep them coming. I hope you guys have been enjoying, and it's time to slide out of the DMs. Cue that.
The lion has DMs.